Hey, what's up, everybody? Hope everybody's having an awesome end of the week or, beginning of the weekend, depends how you think about it. But, I was really wanting some Italian food. So, I thought about the last time I made chicken Alfredo with the mother sauce, but I'll put that link up in one of these two little corners. But I decided to teach you the other mother sauce, which is a tomato sauce. So I'm going to do something, a classic staple in Italian food. So we're going to go ahead and make chicken parmesan. A very delicious thing to eat, and I love it. So let's get it going. First thing we got to get going, we're going to get this dough started here. This is what everything is going to need. For this, you don't have to do this part. I decided to do this to make sure I get all the clumps out because I just bought new flour. Usually I do this to the whole flour, but I haven't yet, so I decided to do this. So you're going to pretty much put this onto the bench, and you're going to make a pretty big well on it. Don't worry about making it too small. You're going to take your eggs and put them in there, and you're going to give them a little mix up. I like to scramble them a little bit before, and then you want to take your olive oil and add a little bit of salt into that. I used about a teaspoon of salt. Now this is going to give it a nice texture. Then we're going to go ahead and mix this bad boy up. Just pretty much, I don't mind using my hands, so I gave it a good little mix until everything started getting a little bit mixed up, and I decided to get my hands dirty. So let's get going. As I start to see everything come together like this, I'm going to start using my hands and pretty much just mush this around like Play-Doh. You don't want to go too hard though. You want to go pretty soft because you don't want to tear the dough itself. So you're going to go ahead and start kneading this dough for no more than 10 minutes. You don't want to overwork it, but you don't want to underwork it. You want to get that nice elasticity to it. This is what we're looking for right here. So once we got this consistency, we're going to go ahead and put some saran wrap, and we're gonna let this sit for about an hour or more, depending how long it takes you to do your other stuff. While we're waiting on that, we're gonna go and actually put our chicken in some buttermilk. If you don't have buttermilk, that's fine. You can just skip this step. I decided to use buttermilk because it gives a little bit of extra tenderness to the chicken itself. And while you're waiting for your pasta to get rest, you might as well, I just did it this way, just to add a little bit of flair to it. Usually this is done when it comes to southern fried chicken. I figured I'd try it out, see if it works. While we wait for that chicken and pasta, we're gonna go and get our veggies done. So here you're gonna take this onion. I used a half one. If you're doing more, you can use a whole one. You're gonna do this into a rough chop, not too big but not too small. It's just gonna cook down anyway. So here you're gonna do one slice down the center, this lengthway, and you're gonna do a bunch of slices down this way, and you're gonna give it a nice little rough chop. Now for this garlic, we're going to take some of it and pretty much do the Goodfellas way. So we want that super thin slice, and then we're going to go and mince some of the rest. So here, this is how thin we want it. You're going to use a whole bundle of parsley. Here, you're just going to pretty much hit it with a small dice, and then you're going to take these tomatoes, you're going to score them across the top in an X, and we're going to boil those later to get that skin off. So after this chicken's done sitting for about an hour, we're gonna go and pretty much wash it off and get a good butterfly on it. I don't want it too thick, but I don't want it too thin. It makes it easier to actually pound down, and you can just save these little bits for later and use in a stir fry. So here we're gonna put it in a plastic bag, and we're gonna pretty much beat this shit like it owes you money. So I did about a 1/4 inch thickness, it's just gonna help it fry and cook a little bit faster, you know, so the outside doesn't burn. Once we're done beating our meat, we're gonna move on and start making our sauce. So here, we're gonna take a saucepan, put some olive oil in there, get that nice heated up. Then we're gonna throw our onions in there and sweat those down and get a nice color on them. And then we're gonna take our garlic in there. We're gonna go ahead and make this with a roux. A traditional mother sauce for a tomato sauce is made with a roux. So I'm gonna teach you guys how to make a roux. This is gonna be a dark roux, so we're gonna let this cook for a little bit. Once these onions start getting a nice color like this, I'm gonna go ahead and add our garlic and get those cooked down the same way. So before we add the flour, I'm gonna go ahead and add a little bit more oil to it. We want a little bit of fat in there because this is what we need, that fat for the roux. So here I used a cup of all-purpose flour and added a little bit of thyme until I get that nice thick consistency that I'm looking for. It's gonna start out blonde, but as you cook it down more, it's going to get that nice brown color that I'm looking for. This is what we're looking for after we add the flour, and then we're going to let that cook down until we get a nice brown like this. If you want to use the blonde, you can, but you can also use a roux for if you want to thicken up anything. So after we get that color, I'm going to go ahead and add some of that parsley in there and give that a good mix. Once this gets a little bit fragrant, 1 or 2 minutes, we're going to go and add our fire roasted whole tomatoes. I just like using this because it gives a nice texture to it. We're going to give that a good mix up, and then I'm going to add a can of tomato sauce. This is pretty bland. This is what you need right here. We're going to make it a little bit extra here. As you can see, to get a nice color, then we're going to let this cook down for a little bit. Once it starts to look like this, you're going to go ahead and add some rosemary and some thyme. You're going to give that another good mix up, and you're going to let that cook down for about 20 minutes on low. Oh yeah, I almost forgot. Add a little bit of red chili flakes to here, and give a little kick, but I didn't add too much because I don't want too much heat, just enough. Once I got the consistency that I want, we're going to go and take some whole bay leaves and give them a nice little tear. Oh, this isn't bay leaves. These are basil, my bad, or basil, as some people like to pronounce it. We're going to give, and I pretty much just put that in there, mix it up, and let it sit to keep warm while we do the other stuff. By now, our pasta should be ready to cut and roll out. So go ahead and flour your service, and we're going to cut this into quarters. You don't want to do the whole piece at one time. I decided just to do quarter at a time until I got enough. If you made too much, or if this is too much for you, don't be afraid. You can freeze this for a good month and just use it as you go. So here I pretty much put this into a nice little square before I rolled it out, and it's made it an easier roll to make it even. With this, you want to get it transparent enough to where you can see the bottom of whatever you're rolling on. So here you're going to see that as I roll it, you can see the actual granite countertop through the actual pasta. Once I got the thickness that I want, we're going to take and pretty much fold this into 1 inch or 1.5 inch folds. Make sure it's nicely floured so not everything sticks to each other. Once we got it folded all the way down, we're gonna cut this into a little bit less than a 1/4 inch, and this is gonna give you a nice linguine type of pasta. Once you get all the pasta you want, here you're gonna pretty much just peel them apart, hit them with some flour so everything doesn't stick. So when you go ahead and throw it in there, it doesn't stick into the water. As you can see, I hit it with some actual flour itself. Let's rest a little bit. We're gonna go ahead and get our water started. Then we're gonna go and get our little setup for our actual chicken. Here I took 2 eggs, whisked them together to get a nice little beaten egg. Then I took some panko breadcrumbs and put them into a pan. I like using panko because they're a little bit drier of a breadcrumb, so they don't absorb as much. So once we got all that set up, we're gonna get our station set up for our actual chicken. We're gonna go eggs first, get that a nice coat on the eggs. Then we're gonna go and hit the breadcrumbs here. You want to get everything covered into the breadcrumbs, you know, so don't be afraid to, you know, put the breadcrumbs on there and press down on them and everything, but use the 2-hand method. You know, you don't want to use both hands for chicken and egg, or for the breadcrumbs and eggs. As you can see, I like to, you know, keep one hand for the chicken and keep one hand for the breadcrumbs. While we wait for our water to heat up and our oil to heat up, we're going to go ahead and make a compound butter. This is pretty much going to be used for our garlic bread. You know, compound butter can be used for anything. It's good to have or good to make. So here I took some of that garlic that we had, a lot of the parsley, and then I just took some salt and meshed it up with the butter. Then I took some actual garlic powder and threw it in there. Gave it a little bit of extra garlic taste. It turned out real good, and this will go awesome with any garlic bread. So if you make this and you serve this to anybody, they're gonna love it and they're gonna brag about it for days. This is just normal French bread here. I just cut it in half, and this is gonna make our garlic bread. So here, you're gonna take your compound butter, you just put it in there, you're gonna give it a nice covering, a nice spread across the whole thing, and we're gonna put this into an oven at about 375 for about 5 to 10 minutes. So while that's going on, we're gonna go and get our chicken in the fry. So we're gonna go ahead and get some oil heated up here. I just used some canola oil and got it pretty much medium heat. Then we went ahead and threw the chicken in and got a nice color on the outside, just like this. This is what we're looking for right here. Once we got that nice color, we're gonna go and let this sit to the side for a little bit, let it cool down and get some of those juices back. Rest it a little bit. We're gonna go ahead and prep this for the oven. Here, I'm gonna take some of that tomato sauce that we have that we made together, and pretty much just baste it on there. You know, you can pour a little bit more if you want to. I decided to do it like this, better for presentation. Once we got that a nice coat on there, we're gonna take some provolone cheese or any cheese. Mozzarella is really good with this. Provolone's really good with this. It just gives it that nice bubbly color. So once we got that cheese nice and covered, we're gonna pop this into the oven at 375 with the bread and let that cook for about 5 to 10 minutes until you get a nice color. So here we're gonna go ahead and prep our pasta. Once we got that pasta cooked for about 5 minutes or so, we're gonna go and strain it and get it nice and get it cooled down. And then we're gonna go take some oil into a saucepan, throw some of that parsley in there and give that a nice fragrant cook. Just nice and fragrant. We're gonna go ahead and take a handful of our pasta, put that bad boy in there, and we're gonna give that a good mix to make sure we get all that parsley mixed in with that pasta. You know, I had a little bit of trouble there, but you know, feel free just to use some tongs. And if you're feeling a little spicy, you can go ahead and use this. get a little bit warmed up, we're gonna go and take some of that more of that tomato sauce that we made, and pretty much just give it a good chef twist and mix up so everything gets nice and coated. You can add a little bit more, or you can add a little bit of butter to this, give it a nice coating for it. I add a little bit more, as you can see, because I wanted mine to be a little bit more tomatoey. Once everything's nice and coated, we're gonna go and start plating here, guys. Once your cheese starts to brown like this, you know, you can take it out and everything should be ready. So go ahead and we're gonna start plating. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and hopefully you guys try this out, because I really love chicken parmesan. It's an Italian, you know, something that's held on to it. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, go ahead and smash that like button, and don't forget to subscribe so you guys don't miss any more how-to videos and recipes. So hopefully you guys are staying safe, and hope you guys have an awesome day. Peace.